Hey everyone, time for Puzzle Talk, the geocaching puzzle podcast brought to you by the Geocache Talk Network. If you'd like to become a patron, click on the heart icon. Something different.
Heart icon.
Click on the heart icon on the front page of the Geocache Talk website, or head on over to patreon.com/geocache talk for more details. Patrons get the now famous blackout coins and other geocaching items during the year, as well as bonus content, invites, special events only for patrons. Support levels start at as little as Bison Tube level, which is $3 a month. And let me welcome our co-host. Somebody's back from wherever he was on the top of a mountain, Charles Watkins and Tom Brotherman. Gentlemen.
Did you want to go over the Patreon levels?
There's several levels.
Tom is excited for you to do this.
Yeah. What does this level get me now?
That level gets you way up there, buddy. That's beyond golden ammo can. Show that one again. Look, $500,000.
That's real money. That's real.
Right, take it to your bank right now.
That's slightly more than what I've got.
Oh, look at that! But you got a stack of those. $25,000.
Well, 25,000 dinars.
Dinars.
Yeah, that's the post Saddam Hussein money.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. I can see some puzzles out of currencies.
It is what dramatic. It is very dramatic. Thank you. Yeah, you couldn't you?
Yeah, you can make some cool little puzzles come out of some of those.
Darren with us again. Thank you for being there, my friend. It is Wednesday. Hopefully everything's good in the future right now.
That's right. Happy Wednesday.
Pizza Ninja says, send me the currency and I'll make a puzzle. Send me thousands of dollars and I'll turn it into a puzzle for you.
Oh, all right.
So
what are we talking about tonight?
Oh, we're talking first about this crazy thing that's scrolling. The world is that. What in tarnation is that one? Oh, well.
Y'all don't know because y'all didn't watch me figure it out.
No, we don't even know.
Y'all don't know.
That's right. We'll have to work on it. So there you go. So yeah, we were talking.
3 minutes to figure it out.
So done.
So where were you last week, Charles? Tell everybody where we missed you.
Oh, so I am.
Yeah, you're not at home. Otherwise,
no, I've got
a house.
These Kush condiments here. The location that the federal government has put me up in my lapse of luxury.
Was that a rat that went by? I just saw a rat.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Crawled up on your bed there, buddy. So I guess the government's hurting for money there.
I'm on a 120-day detail to the state office in Phoenix, Arizona. So my boss is located in Phoenix.
Right.
Right now I'm in Lake Havasu City. Last week I was in Phoenix. The week before that, and starting this Saturday, I'll be back in St. George, Utah.
Cool.
So I'm on a 120-day detail roughly till the end of November down here working for the Arizona State Office. It is a job as a telecommunications specialist. And so in the end, the goal is that I'm going through this training program and we'll be able to shift jobs and careers within the federal government and start a job as a telecommunications specialist.
That means you can answer the phone?
Yeah, a little bit on occasion. It's dealing with our UHF radios that we have. And so it'll be installing and troubleshooting radios, our new radio network as we develop and get through stuff. So, yeah.
Still within the Bureau of Land Management.
It is still within the Bureau of Land Management. The Arizona office has a multi-agency plan that they have been on. So they do a bunch of work for U.S. Fish and Wildlife for their LEO program, their law enforcement program.
Wait, it's called LEO?
Yeah, the LEO, law enforcement officer.
That's what we call them. We call them Leos too.
So it's
working on a radio puzzle.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's so much, but we've got certain frequencies that we're allowed to work on. The encryption that we do for our law enforcement guys. We're doing some new satellite radios where we have some dedicated radios that stay in orbit over the U.S. as we rotate, so it doesn't. They're not satellites that rotate the Earth. They're kind of in a fixed orbit around us.
Right.
Stationary.
Yeah. So it's there's a lot. I've been doing a lot of learning. Thankfully, the stuff that I'm learning this week while I'm in Lake Havasu is stuff that I've already have dealt with previously in my BLM career. So
that's cool.
But we do a lot of work with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, with the Forest Service, with Bureau of Rec, law enforcement, with Border Patrol, and some of their missions that they do. And then some of the Forest Service LE programs in certain states, in certain forest regions. So we do, it's been an eye-opening experience, but the office that I'm currently working for covers radio stuff from Southern California to the Texas-Louisiana border. They cover some stuff in Florida, and they cover some stuff up in the far northeast from about the Delaware border up to Maine. Wow. So we have some law enforcement officers that we support way up there. So it's a really cool program. I'm excited to be there, but for the last couple of weeks, that means that I've been traveling the state of Arizona. And it's hot here, so
and not being home. Yeah, it's hotter than blazes, that one person said. So, all right, let's get into it. We're getting into tonight puzzle talk. How to rate it? How do we rate it?
But don't skip that puzzle down there. Don't skip it.
It's down there. That's okay.
I'm sitting there watching his timer ticker.
He's trying to figure out how long. So this is an interesting question because it's obviously more complicated, right, you guys? Because it can be more complicated because it's sort of like a challenge cache. What are you rating? Are you rating puzzle? You guys tell me. You're the experts, so I'll shut up and listen.
All right. Here, let me. It's not the easiest way to do this. So let's get some preliminaries out of the way real quick and show some of this stuff. This is the stuff from Groundspeak, right? So this is the official guidelines that tells you what you've got and what you're going to be looking at. So these are the difficulty ratings on the left. So easy to find or solve within a few minutes is a difficulty 1. 1.5 is easy to find or solve within 10 to 15 minutes. A 2 is relatively easy to find or solve within 30 minutes. 2.5 is a mild challenge, but relatively easy for an experienced geocacher. Therein lies another issue: is what is your definition of an experienced geocacher?
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms, right?
I found 3. I got experience.
Yeah, right. So 3 difficulty is a somewhat challenging puzzle or hiding spot.
Okay.
A 3.5 is quite difficult. Be prepared for a mental challenge. 4 is very difficult and may take special knowledge, advanced preparation, or multiple trips. A 4.5 is extremely difficult, most likely requires special knowledge or skills. And then a 5 difficulty is the most extreme mental challenge, requires specialized knowledge, skills, tools, or significant effort to find, solve, or open.
Or it's extremely easier.
So this is this is multiple fold because you can actually have a one puzzle that's a difficulty 5 because the hidden container is just that hard to find.
Right. Well, and the thing about this too is this was designed with traditionals in mind. I don't think they ever thought about puzzles.
Right. So normally if you have a puzzle that's easy and the actual container is difficult to find, usually you'll find that on the cache page where they say, this is an easy puzzle. The difficulty comes from actually finding the container.
Right.
Sometimes you don't. And so you may get there and be like, oh, it's a 4 difficulty. You may breeze through the puzzle. And that may be the hard part because then you're like, oh, the puzzle was super easy.
Right.
Does that mean that I had that special knowledge already for this that made it easy for me? Or is the difficulty coming from actually hiding of the container? So the difficulty in puzzles is one of those things that is twofold. So we got this preliminary out of the way that this is Groundspeak's kind of catch-all for this, and so we've checked the block, we've covered this, but that doesn't always necessarily mean that when you find a difficulty 4 puzzle, if you breeze through it may be multi-layered. So
true.
Well, let's do something. I'll bring your thing back up and scroll up a bit.
Oh.
Scroll up to where to the top of it, I guess.
To the one area.
Because we're going to help some people out here. Didn't it? Oh, keep going up. Got to the title stuff. Didn't it say guidelines? Oh, it doesn't. Okay, but you said it. They're guidelines.
Right.
So if you're the puzzle creator, try to keep some of this stuff in mind, but also know that no matter what you rate it, somebody's going to complain about it.
Well, yeah, that's for sure. That's true. Some people people who are new may not realize that.
Right. So,
no matter what you rate it, somebody might complain.
So, no, they will. You get enough people, they will.
Yeah.
That's not a 2. That's a 2.5.
Yeah.
Or that puzzle was easy, and the next person, that puzzle was hard.
So the other side too, and these are, again, these are guidelines that come from Groundspeak. But
this one's tricky. Indoor caches.
Yeah, this was all new to me. I didn't know any of this stuff. So I've never tried to put one indoors.
Right. So if you're going to place a cache indoors, and somewhere this change got made, what did I put? January to March of 2018. Somewhere in that time frame, the guidelines got updated that said that if you were going to place a geocache inside,
Right.
it can no longer be a traditional, which means that a good number of geocaches that are placed indoors, and indoors doesn't necessarily always mean a library cache, although library caches are normally what people think of. But if you have a cache that's inside a business, right? If you are Cache Advance in Spokane and you have a physical geocache located inside your building, if you were to try to publish that today, it cannot be a traditional. And let me see. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I always think library. Now, the library cache I did was a multi, but I guess you could do them because you
and a multi works.
It works.
At least it follows the new guidelines. I was trying to see.
Yeah, although it seems like I've only found a couple library caches, but they seem to always have been the unknown, the question mark.
Right. And so, right here. So here's the guideline where it says indoor caches can never be a traditional cache because they're required to have an outdoor GPS function to them, right? So even if your traditional is, or even if your puzzle cache, the final of it is, say, inside a library, you still have to have an external stage.
Yep.
The external stage could be a historical marker plaque where they have to gather information off of it. But that is your outdoor GPS portion of this, so that if you want to place a geocache indoors, this goes into some of the difficulty rating on it, because is the building open 24 hours a day?
Yeah, right. I see. Yeah.
Is the building open till 9 p.m. Monday through Friday and then closed Saturday and Sunday? So most days when geocachers are out caching on the weekends, it's not available to them. So that would make it a higher difficulty rating, at least in my opinion.
Right.
And whatnot. So this was, I helped a friend do a puzzle cache that ended up in a library. And I was like, why can't you just put coordinates at the middle of the building and have them go look at the card catalog? And they had sent me this same link that the reviewer had sent them. And I was like, oh, that's new. So, and you can make these caches that are indoor anything. You can make them a multi-cache. You can make it a Where I Go. You can make it a
Where I Go. Interesting.
letterbox hybrid, right?
Right.
And obviously a good number of them have been turned into puzzle caches and have some sort of puzzle component to them and GPS stop outside of the building that you're going to be finding the cache in. You just know that if you are planning on going down this road, that there's more than just getting permission from your local pizza shop to put it there in the front window area, and that it can't be a traditional. So start using your BHG, your brain housing group, and start coming up with a plan for what you're going to do for a indoor geocache.
Interesting. So you could put a puzzle. Could you put a puzzle on the traditional? I'm sorry, on stage one of a multi-cache? I wonder if you could create a puzzle so that when they figure the puzzle out, it says go to reference section and go to, he's got it. There you go. There's the answer to the everything's better outdoors except air conditioning. That's good. What was it? And you gave a clue. It was skip.
Skip 3.
Skip 3. Oh, interesting. A skip. Those are interesting. Yeah.
All right, that's enough of that.
So, could you create a puzzle where the outside, so that when somebody solves the puzzle, that they are told then to go to the reference section, go to the J section, go to whatever. I guess you could.
You could. So, is that on this page? Hang on.
But in a sense, that's not an unknown. Of course, we're talking about all kinds of puzzle caches. That's something I guess we should have mentioned. Maybe you guys probably did. Maybe the first show that puzzle caches can be multis, that can be traditionals, that can be any of them.
Yeah.
So.
So when you look at this, it tells you that you need to make sure. So here, if the final container is inside a building, then the outdoor stage must provide essential information for finding the final container. Players should not be able to find the final container without completing the outdoor stage. The outdoor stage can be physical or virtual. Here are examples of essential information. So the card catalog number of a book in a public library, the combination to a lock on the final container, right? A description of where the cache is hidden inside the building if the container is not in an obvious place.
Okay, cool.
There's your, and remember in solving puzzle caches or in publishing puzzle caches, you have to tell the reviewer how you solve your puzzle. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So,
which I ran into this week.
Yeah. So you have to let them know this is how they solve it, and this is where the puzzle takes them. And especially if you're going to have an indoor cache, you have to be able to prove that you have an outdoor GPS stage that requires them to go here, that then leads them inside. So
does all that count for an indoor Earth cache?
Yeah, I saw Pizza Ninja mention I don't think. Well, it has to be lobster.
Earth caches have their own set of guidelines outside of this.
Yeah.
And so Earth cache guidelines require you to teach something that's educational, right? That's Earth science based.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like the number one biggest thing with Earth caches.
Right.
And if you fail to do that, then it doesn't matter where your Earth cache is, you're going to fail, right? You have to teach an Earth science lesson. And if you can't teach that, then it's irrelevant, right? But Earth caches have their own separate set of guidelines outside of these that you have to meet. And so you can have an Earth cache indoors. In fact, I've got a couple that I'm working on for a large geology display.
That's right. There's one in the Denver airport.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, so indoor for Earth cache is easy as long as you teach a Earth science-based lesson that's educational. That's first and foremost.
So as soon as you put that question up and I thought about it, I thought, what better place than a museum?
In case you were wondering where the link is, we'll throw it in the show notes, but geosociety.org, and we'll post that. Because I'm sure somebody's like, well, where is the requirement?
Yeah.
There it is. So
so there we go. So that kind of is our caveat, our check the block. If you're going to put a geocache indoors, it has to have an external GPS, operating hours and business hours, and availability to the general public. Will change your difficulty rating based on how easy it is to be available to the mass public. So there you go.
that's cool.
And I still got gears clanging in my head. So if it's at a museum and they charge a fee, I mean, that would still fly, wouldn't it? Because
Yeah. It now Groundspeak's rules on that say that it has to be a reasonable fee. So
Yeah, you couldn't do the $100 extra spelunking thing at a cave. You'd have to have the normal entrance thing that anybody
right,
could do.
and so perfect case for that is the webcam cache at the Colorado Springs Zoo. It's indoors. I say indoor. The webcam is inside the gate
Okay.
at the giraffe exhibit.
Yep.
And so you have to pay an entrance fee. Now the entrance fee is like whatever it is, $12. That is a nominal fee. And that's written in the guidelines that says if it is at a place that charges admission, it has to be a nominal fee.
Right.
There are caches inside Disney World, Disneyland, whatever the one is in California.
Disneyland.
It's a
There you
virtual.
go.
Yeah. You can't have physicals, but
I haven't been to any of them.
yeah, they don't allow containers, but yeah, there's virtuals.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but again, those caches have been allowed to stay because they believe that admission price into the park is a nominal fee.
Nominal. Well, for Disney, maybe it is nominal, but not for the rest of the world. But so what if the puzzle could you okay, so I'm kind of stuck on this, I'm sorry, but what if you stage 1 tells you to go to X marks the spot inside the library, for example.
Okay.
So you get there and you open up a book, and let's say it's inside the book, there's a piece of paper, and the piece of paper has a puzzle on it to send you. So at that point, could you then have multiple? Obviously, the library would be in on it, but could you do almost like a treasure hunt within the library to get you to a final? Because your GPS requirement was met with the one that's outside.
Yeah, you could.
In fact, I think there's one down your area, down in Arizona, that's famous for having that. I was trying to find it.
The trick would be: are you going to label each stop at a different bookshelf as a physical waypoint?
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Oh, can they? They have to be 580 feet away.
No, I believe it can be closer than 528 feet.
I'm sorry, 528 is what I meant. Yeah.
But you have to be able to show that in your.
Yeah, Prescott. Thank you.
Yeah. So you have to be able to, if you're going to have multiple physical stops within a library, then you have to be able to somehow express that to the reviewer in your reviewer note, unless you just simply don't tell them that.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't. I mean,
and we don't advocate that. We always advocate that you're
when
your reviewers.
I mean, it could be legit. You don't have to necessarily, doesn't have to go crazy with the,
Right, but you could definitely lead them to one set of a book that you've gotten permission from the library to, glue something to the very last blank page in the book.
Yeah.
You've glued a sheet that has a cipher or a code that has to be broke or something that's relevant to the book in their hand, right? Like a book cipher.
Right.
That lead them to another hiding spot in the library.
Right.
That's perfectly legit.
Yeah, you could do. I mean, I think that is fascinating that you can. I mean, you can put puzzles put puzzles. I think one of the things that I always forget about, and I guess I need to really kind of open keep my options open in my brain about these is that puzzle cache doesn't have to be the unknown type. It could be anything.
Yeah.
So other than, I don't think you could put a puzzle on Earth cache, I guess, right? Kind of.
To me, technically, it is.
Yeah, it kind of is a puzzle in a sense.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
Again, as long as you're teaching that geology, earth science based educational requirement is the big one. So as long as you can teach that.
Right.
I mean, it's asking questions you got to answer. You do the same thing on
Right.
some puzzle caches, except for puzzle caches will give you coordinates or something to go find something, where in Earth caches, you get the CO's blessing to log it or not.
And the hard part about that is getting it past. Earth caches went through a huge renovation in like 2008, 2009. And then all of a sudden, wait, am I wrong? No. 2000.
Somewhere along there was a big
Somewhere all of a sudden they just stopped and revamped the Earth cache guidelines.
Yeah.
Your requirements.
Yeah.
It made it very hard for Earth caches to get published. You couldn't just use information off of a
sign or something, yeah.
Graphic sign or a placard that was out there somewhere talking about a meteor crater. Like
right.
You actually had to have them do some critical thinking questions. And so when that happened, you saw some of these people who had, over 100 Earth caches published, all of a sudden haven't had an Earth cache published since then because the guidelines are now stricter. So Earth caches went through a big revamp
right
years ago, and you just got to remember that you're going to have a Earth cache reviewer come in and review your Earth cache, and they are very specific and very picky about certain things. So,
right. So
just know that going into it.
Yeah, here's the one that I was thinking of that was mentioned. It's in Prescott. It's currently unavailable because of the crappy time we live in, but this is the one, Indiana Jones and the Flame of Chantico Part 1. It's in Prescott, but it is in the Prescott Valley Public Library, and so they you get to go around in the library and find various parts in their coins that are sort of in the library that you have to go find.
Mm-hmm.
And they give you some clues as to where to go and stuff. And basically this is a puzzle cache because you can check your solution. It's got the you. You check your solution for part 2. Yeah. So because it's a 2-part. So anyway, so this is kind of that idea I was thinking of, was that you could take that idea like you're talking about and expand it into something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. How many favorite points that thing got?
Oh, it's got a bunch. It's got it's in the 201 book. 279 favorites. 279, and it's been found 359. So it's almost. I mean,
that's really good.
I'll tell you at the top what the percentage of that is. That's 86%
of premium people have favorited it. That's darn good right there.
Yeah, I mean it falls in the most popular in the book. Shameless plug for the 201 geocaches to find before you die. I guess it is shameless. Anyway, it's in there. It's let's see if I can see what I'm doing. I stick in front of the camera, then I can't see what I'm doing. Anyway, there it is. It's in there. Both of the Flames of Tampico are in the list. So anyway,
Yeah.
shows you a good example of what you could do with a puzzle. Oh, which back to the
And
top.
with the indoor cache.
It's a 3, 1.5. In case, since we're going to get back on track with our original topic.
So
a 3, 1.5. So interesting.
all right. So I guess getting back on track, let's do this. So with all of the stuff that we've already mentioned from the powers that be at HQ in Seattle.
Yep, I agree. By the way, all the Raven caches are great. Go ahead.
How exactly do you rate a puzzle cache, right? So for me, one of the first things that I do that is that imitation is always the
Better for flattery.
right. And so if I have come across a easy to duplicate puzzle that I enjoy doing,
right,
usually copy it, right?
Sure.
No lie. I'm not even.
I have never done that.
Oh, please.
So
don't lie to the public like that.
If you're copying a previously done puzzle that you have already done, was the difficulty part of it accurate?
Ooh.
Right? And I know that's subjective. But if you have already done one that somebody else has previously published and all you're going to do is change the numbers in it, the puzzle relatively stays the same.
Yeah, okay. I see where you're going with this.
Right. And if you sat there and looked at it and said, oh, that was a 2.5 difficulty, that's probably right. Did it, again, back to Groundspeak's guidelines, was it semi-easy for you to solve? Did it take you a little bit, but relatively done in a short amount of time? And if the answer to that's yes, then their rating system for the one that you're copying is probably fairly accurate. And if that's the case, I probably would stay with it.
Okay.
If it's not one that you copied, but it's one that you created kind of based off of this crazy thought that you had, you can search other geocaches for something along the same lines, right? You can look for presidents, keywords, do a keyword search.
Yeah.
If all the geocaches that have presidents or presidential or something like that in the title, and then look at them and say, yeah, mine's kind of like this one. I think that this would be, accurate. Yeah. Again, it's kind of, it's throwing darts at a dartboard in the dark sometimes for some of this.
Well, sure.
Said, you may think that, yeah, that's a solid 3.5. And you're going to get people that are upset with you on both sides that's either way too hard to be a 3.5. You need to make it go up, or people that are like, that's pretty easy. You probably make that a 2-star, so you'll have upset with you either way. It's just kind of, go with it, go with the flow and see. One of the things that'll make your difficulty score either go up or down, depending again, is if the location is indoors and is the final available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Right? Minus federal holidays.
Right.
But if it's at a bank that closes at 5 o'clock, if it's out in the lobby of a bank and the bank lobby closes at 5 p.m. every day and it's not open on Sundays, that could make your difficulty rating go up. But we touched on that already for indoor.
Yeah. Well, and you can put the attribute that it's the I think it's the does not. So it's got,
Available 24/7.
yeah. So you click on the available 24/7. You click on it twice, and it makes it a do not
Right.
symbol.
And that's always something that probably needs to be put in the cache description is that if it is a place that has limited business hours,
Yeah.
you need to clearly list the business hours.
What is this cache?
Bring that one up.
All right, 8x
MPK. Micro
Gotcha.
something karma.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was kind of looking at 5.5s. Savory 2. Is that the right one?
No. 8x.
Oh, I got the wrong one. Never mind. Hang on.
That's the wrong one, Gary.
What's funny about that is that it's also it's a 5.5 puzzle, but that's the right one. 8x.
This one is a 2.5, 1.5.
Oh, okay.
And I can't answer the 1.5 part because I haven't gone and looked for this series yet. I just solved them all.
8x MPK.
This is one of a series of 77 and one of them was on Geocache Puzzle of the Day. I think last week, maybe it was this week.
I got to change
All
filters.
blurs together.
Let me clear my filters. That's why it was weird. That's weird. Search. GC.
It's called Figure It Out.
Figure it out.
You pull
Number
it up.
5.
I'll let you pull it up. For some reason, I'm still stuck on my filtering.
You're fine. I got you.
Cool, man. Oh yeah, that's the one you were stuck on that one last week.
I was stuck on this thing. And so this is just a 2.5, and it,
2.5, right? And if it's
and that is the puzzle right there. That's the whole thing, and you just got to figure out what does that mean. And then you put it in certitude, and it'll give you the thing. And I think he gives you a clue, something that is 2 words, maybe.
So 2.5. What did we say 2.5 was? 2.5. No big deal. How many?
No big deal. And then I'll go look how many failed certitudes there were.
Yeah, the certitude shows 41.
41 good and 112 bad.
Wow. Yep. 2 words.
This whole series is pictures like that, and you got to figure out what it says. And most of these I had no problem with whatsoever because it's called a rebus puzzle. And
yeah, I like rebuses.
And I'm trying to brag, but I'm pretty good at them. But not this one. This one kicked my butt.
Look at, and this one will get you a Machu Picchu too. If you don't have a Machu Picchu,
that's right. Get you a wonder.
Oh man, I could go do that whole series then. Any idea what it says? I know the answer. That's why I didn't bring mine up because it's in mine.
Oh, flying cheese.
Nope.
Cheddar. Okay, hang on. Cheddar. It's got.
Let's see if anybody in the chat room's gonna get it.
I'm doing a.
I couldn't find a picture thing for it. No,
I'm doing a cheddar pun. I googled cheddar puns.
Oh, I didn't think about doing that.
Cheese the day. There's a Cheese Louise.
I don't think that's going to be what you were looking for there, Gary.
No.
Yeah, in the hint, it says it's 2 words.
I'm going down the rabbit hole with the cheese puns, so I'm going to stop.
Oh, somebody's really close in the chat room. It's only 2 words.
It's got
cheese dip. There we go.
Oh, there you go. Dang it. We should have figured that out. But
yeah, but that's just it. So most of these I got, just seconds looking at them, and that one kicked my butt for like 2 days.
Right.
And I finally had to ask somebody, phone a friend. Actually, it was text a friend because I wasn't leaving the house. But So there, how do you rate that? I mean,
What's funny is people watching. Somebody went and got the cords for that. That is not fair. Whoever did that, but somebody did it wrong. So that it went. The certitude went to 42,113.
That's funny.
Everybody else stopped for a moment. They're like, "Oh nope, I better not put it in there." Watching.
So that goes to what I have listed as number 4 on mine, which is how obscure is the subject matter that the puzzle is based about.
Yes.
Right. And so some of these, like Tom said, were super easy. He just breezed right through them. You could look at it and kind of be like, oh, yeah, you know. And then some of them, like this one, you know, could sit there and be like, what is that? You know.
And that's the thing. Sorry. That's the thing. All of us need to realize that my fandom passion for whatever isn't everybody else's passion for them. You know, if you're Susan and I are currently binge watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine on Hulu because we're trying to catch up. So, but that doesn't mean everybody else is watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is that? What's the Hobbit movie?
Lord of the Rings, or
yeah. So if you had a puzzle based on Lord of the Rings, man, I'd struggle through it. It would kick my butt from one end of the week to the next.
But if it was Star Wars,
my wife could probably look at that and be like, "Oh yeah,
no problem."
And I'd be like, "What?
What?
It's just not my thing." Now, if you made a Star Wars,
I'm
on that like on a free slice of cake, man. I'm telling you. But that's my thing. So I know this. And I don't mind, you know, to me, a Lord of the Rings puzzle is so obscure. It is so out there to me here.
Right.
Mentally.
But somebody could put it as a 2 and you'd be like, really?
Man, I'd struggle for weeks.
You're going to make it a 2. I mean, you have to really kind of think about if you make it. Maybe I guess that's the other thing to remember is if
it's a 2, Google better be everybody's friend.
That's right. Exactly. But I mean, if the more obscure the topic, you got to remember that. So I guess you really need to bump your D of the T up.
Yeah. You know, the other side to that is, do you have to have some special knowledge to solve the puzzle? Right.
That's true.
Special knowledge, like you can quote the movie as it's playing in the background, right? I couldn't do that. So now again, for Star Wars, I can. Probably for all 9 movies.
Right.
You know, the big 9 movies plus a couple of the spinoffs and The Mandalorian on
exactly. Love The Mandalorian.
Love it. On the Mouse channel. So I probably could do that for those. But Lord of the Rings, just that's a personal thing, and I know this, but again, you know, having some special knowledge or how obscure is your puzzle. I had a puzzle cache at one point in time. It's been archived now because the final location broke down. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick.
While you're doing that, let's kind of clear the field here of the other question, which, correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys have done a lot. You guys are the experts, but when it comes to the T part of it, the terrain, pretty much we're looking at whatever the container is in the final, right? Would that be safe to say?
Yeah, the terrain has absolutely, if it is a
puzzle,
if it's a lamppost skirt lifter in a Walmart parking lot, that is a terrain of 1.
Right.
I don't care who you are. If you have a lamppost skirt in the middle of a Walmart parking lot, somebody in a wheelchair can get to it, can get that skirt lifter up, and can retrieve the cash from a wheelchair. That is a terrain of one. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Reign of one. Now, if you got a lamppost skirt, somewhere else down a dirt trail, maybe it's different. But that's one of the things that the T rating really has. That is solely what does it take to physically get to the cash container. And maybe not anything else on the on the screen for the cash page except that. So,
So if it's on the summit of one of your big mountains you deal with, where it's nice and flat up there at the mountain, and you could drive your wheelchair around, but getting to that point is a nightmare.
Yeah. I mean, I've got some terrain 4, terrain 4.5. I've got one terrain 5 up in the mountains where not easy to get to. And I acknowledge that. I also put there on one that I have that I think is a terrain. I think it's a terrain 3. You only rise 80 feet in elevation from the parking spot to where the cash location is.
Right.
But it's at 12,500 feet. So those 80 additional feet.
Oh gosh, that's an hour of stopping every 2 feet to catch my breath.
Right. So, and I put that on my cash page, that if you're a flatlander that's coming up from Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, because it's right close to a popular Jeep trailhead.
Places that have oxygen.
Right. We've got a couple of those places that sell little flavored canned oxygen. And before you go up there, you can get you some.
Get you one
that tastes like, plum or key lime or whatnot.
Right.
All right. So let me bring this cash page up.
Okay.
This is a difficulty 4 puzzle, right? It's archived now, so I don't mind sharing it.
Just for the audio listeners, Hail Columbia, what was the GC?
Oh, it's GC 5QJ9B.
QJ9B. Query Jasmer 9
Yeah.
Bison.
Yeah, 5 query Jasmer 9 Bison.
Yeah.
Got it.
Cool.
So there's your puzzle. Now, in looking at that, what is that?
Ooh.
Who are all of those people?
Oh, they're presidents?
Or were they vice presidents?
Or were they right?
Or both?
Or both.
All right, so there are a couple of things here. Hail Columbia. So you're both right. All of these gentlemen were all presidents. They were also all vice presidents.
Interesting.
So this is taking them as vice presidents, because you can see that here I differentiate between A. Johnson and not A. Johnson.
Right.
But I don't differentiate between which
Roosevelt
or which Bush, right?
Right.
Because Big Bush was the only Bush that was a vice president. There was only one Roosevelt that was a vice president. But both Johnsons, right? Lyndon Baines Johnson was a vice president who became a president.
Yep. And Andrew Johnson.
And Andrew Johnson started off as a vice president.
Yep.
Right?
For Lincoln. Yep.
This actually takes into account what their position was as a vice president. Were they the first vice president, the second vice president, the third vice president? Right?
And you add all that together?
It just so happens that all of these would all also became presidents, right? But if you Google Hail, Columbia, right?
Right.
Is the theme song, that is the official march song of the vice president.
Ah, you gave quite a bit of information then.
And
So-
it's missing now because I went in and edited it. But there used to be a background image back here that was the official seal of the vice president. And it is actually extremely similar to the presidential seal. So if you didn't know what the slight differences were,
Yeah.
you just be like, oh, that's presidential seal, Hail Columbia, this. I had a lot of people who Googled Hail Columbia when I first put this cash out, that it brought them to Columbia University.
Oh.
And the cash has nothing to do with the university.
Right.
So there was some of that with this cash. Now, it's a difficulty 4, and I came up with this rating because I used a beta tester team. So
Interesting.
this is one of the ways that I personally get puzzle ratings. I have a group of, at one point in time, I put out a thing on a geocaching Facebook page saying that I'd created a new puzzle and that I was looking for people to beta test it. And what I did was I took the first 15 people who responded that they wanted to look at it. I sent those 15 people the puzzle. And then I told them, I'm going to publish it on Monday. If you have solved it before Monday, send me, your corrected coordinates, and whatnot, and how difficult you thought the puzzle was.
Right.
And so on this cache,
Interesting.
I had like Perk White, Jay in LA, who she's a cashier out of Nebraska, Thomas Diaz. They were the 3 people that I sent this as the beta tester. They were the only 3 that actually solved it.
Sure.
And I sent it to 15 people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. And so when I asked them, hey, how do you rate that? They all sent me back 3, 3.5, or 3.5, 4, somewhere in that ballpark. So I went maybe a little on the high side,
Right.
but that's how I did it. And what I do for my beta testers, again, right, wrong, however you feel about it, this is what I do. For you taking the time to try and solve one of my puzzles initially, and then giving me feedback for it, after the first to find has found it, I'll go out and put all of the beta testers who actually solved it prior to publications names on the cache sheet, on the log sheet. And then they can log it as at will.
Right.
Right? And so when you look at some of my puzzle caches that I have published, you'll see where people sat there and said that they've logged it with permission of the CO as part of the beta test team. That's one of the perks that I give people who are willing to take the time to try and solve one of my puzzles.
Right.
I got some flack for that on said Facebook page,
Or yeah.
and that's okay. But I'm the cache owner, and that's how I do that. Now what I do is I publish.
So those people have solved a few of your stuff and probably got 5 or 6 smileys, extra smileys, and they probably have how many thousands? So
Sure.
percentage wise, that's like,
Yeah. That.
Right. Oh, yeah,
that's in
absolutely.
the who cares?
Yeah.
Right. So now for my beta tester teams, I have created a track,
Yay.
and I send them trackable. I also create on my Instagram page at 3CharlesWatkins. I create a puzzle every Tuesday that I do a Trackable Tuesday giveaway, and I hide one of these out in the wild, and I create a puzzle that I haven't done for today. So if you've been waiting and watching my Instagram page, puzzle is still yet to come for today, but it will happen. If you're in Lake Havasu City, pay attention because the puzzle is going to be right here because that's where I'm at tonight. But I give away one of my trackables. If you're on my beta test team, I send you one as well as a thank you for doing that. But I believe that beta test teams are probably one of the most accurate ways of getting coordinate or of getting a solid D rating out of a puzzle because they kind of proof do it for you. They're people who have several hundred, if not thousand, puzzle cache solves under their belt and can give you a accurate, this is how long it took me to solve it. If this was one of mine, this is what I would expect it to be rated as. So that's
So what did you rate that one? The difficulty?
the difficulty 4.
I could go with that. I'd say at least three minimum.
And
But I wouldn't lose sleep over. I wouldn't say, oh, that can't be a 4. Well, no, that's
at the time that I archived it. Let's see. It was published in 2015. I archived it in 2017 because the hiding place was a scratch tree that was out in the middle of a buffalo pasture at the Thermopolis Hot Springs State Park. So a lot of people go through that area going to Yellowstone and back from Yellowstone.
Right.
And so that my cache that was no lie 540 feet from there probably has hundreds of finds on it. But my puzzle cache that was sitting there, 540 feet away, got 12 finds in over 2 years. Simply for the difficulty rating, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You had to climb up in that scratch tree, which used to be an old cedar tree that they'd cut all the limbs off but left little nubs so that the buffalo could scratch up against them. But that's what you had to climb.
okay.
Pegs sticking out of the tree trunk, and the buffalo eventually knocked it over. And the state park said, no, we're not going to try and put it back up. We're just going to, go over. And they're
a new tree
else for a scratch tree for them. So I archived it because they weren't going to, we figured they were going to like hollow it out, put a giant metal rod in it, and then cement it in the ground. And then I could put the cache back up in there. They didn't do that.
Not going to happen.
I just thought of something. So if you're an American, that cache rating I would think would be closer to 3. If you're Canadian, maybe 3.5. And if I'm coming over here with my money, I got all this money, and I'm coming from Zimbabwe, that probably would be a 4. Because those names, if I'm from Zimbabwe, that it might be a 5 even. Those names don't mean anything to me.
That's true. But do you take that? I mean, you have to take into account you can't take everything into account.
Right. And because that cache was on its way to and from Yellowstone, and there are a lot of foreigners who come over specifically to go to that park.
Right.
That may be why I listed it as a 4. I can't remember now why I stuck to the 4.
Yeah.
But I did,
For people hunting fizzy grids, that's a better one to get. 4 and 4.5. Those are hard, tougher to get. But that also might be what drove people away too. That's a 4. That's too hard. I'm not going to waste any time on that.
Right.
I'm here on vacation.
You could solve it from the comfort of your hotel room.
Right.
Like mine.
There you go. Well, to be honest, I think it still holds true for us that are just trying to get further along in our puzzle cache life. I really think that one, I think I could have figured out. It's after a period of time, but I think for those that are tuning in or listening later, who are just kind of trying to dip their toe into the puzzle cache world, like we say with anything else, it's like any kind of cacher. If you're just starting geocaching, difficulty 1, terrain 1, and work your way. It's like puzzles. Go look for 1.5 difficulty 1.5 puzzles and work on those all over the world. You can find them. You can do a filter for all the 1.5s in the world and just work on those for a while.
I think within an hour, you and I would have had that thing solved. I would have gone down to Columbia University thing because that did cross my mind.
Well, I'd have gone down.
But we also said presidents and VPs right off the bat too. So
yeah, we'd have gone down the president route for quite a while probably, because I wouldn't have thought about, because your initial when you look at it, when I look at the list, I immediately think presidents.
And
yeah, I did too. That was the first thing I threw out, and then I said VP, and then
yeah.
Well, and that was the first thing that I got questions from on some of them. Some of them asked, "Well, which Bush?
Yeah,
which Roosevelt?" And they said, "We don't understand why you've differentiated between A. Johnson and not A. Johnson, but you didn't do it with Bush and Bush."
right.
that's a clue.
That's all part of the puzzle.
And it's a clue.
Part of the puzzle. It's good. It's good.
So, but look at this. Teresa's right, and this goes with our beta tester thing.
Yeah.
Right. When she first started making puzzles, asked a few friends if they could solve it and what they would rate it. That's a prime example of what it would be like to have a beta test team.
Right.
They're also good to throwing rocks at your puzzle and find where you messed up with it.
Oh, that's for sure.
Because I know of at least 2 of them, two puzzles that got published here that I found mistakes with them that would and corrected it for the guy, and then got first to find anyway with his wrong puzzle.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah, you that was I think that was your note in there, Tom. That your comment is perfect. Beta testers are useful. Just because you think your puzzle is only solved one way doesn't mean that's the case. Beta testers can find problems.
I thought of a gadget cache. I guess you'd call it a gadget cache. Guy had a pipe stuck in cement and it had holes in it. I think it was part of an old Christmas tree. So he had about 1.5 foot of pipe stuck in cement stuck in the ground. He had little sticks like from the Pickup 6 game.
Yeah.
Stuck in that thing. And there was a film canister underneath all those sticks.
Right.
And I'm trying to think what he called that cache. I think he called it sticks.
Right.
And when I went to find it, I took the sticks out and I stuck it in a hole and I did this number and shot the thing up and stuck a stick in and I did it that way. Somebody else put gum on a stick and pulled it up that way.
Shoved it up. Right.
I know of one person who dug the thing up and turned it over.
Oh.
I think it was solved 5 or 6 different ways before somebody did it the way he intended, to drop a magnet down there because he had put something in the lid.
Probably so.
Never crossed my mind to do that. So yeah, 5 or 6 different ways where somebody did it right.
Right.
Or right.
Yeah.
We all got to the log.
Well, and I've come across some like that I'll take my roll of duct tape out of the car, tape all the holes up, and fill it full of water.
Yep.
And let it float.
Let it float.
That would have worked.
That would work.
And then peel my duct tape off and recycle it. File 13 it when I'm done with it. But
that's right.
There was one cache like that in East Texas where I lived, where they had spaced the holes far enough apart to where you couldn't cover all 10 holes or 9 holes that they put in it,
right,
and pour it full of water.
Did they mark it as a?
They put on there that they put the teamwork attribute on there. It said that you're going to need more than one person.
Yeah.
Well, you just need a roll of duct tape.
My roll of duct tape proved otherwise.
What's that stuff they sell on the TV commercials where the guy just slaps it on the boat and then?
Oh, that's right.
Seal.
Yeah.
Flex seal.
Flex seal.
Flex tape.
Yeah.
Nice.
New use for duct tape. I have to keep that one in mind.
Nice. All right. Final thoughts, I guess. Is that where we're at?
Well, look at isn't Tom has a note in here that says, "Isn't the summit of Mount Everest kind of flat? One from a helicopter, right?"
Helicopter.
It's a 17 if you're climbing it.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's smart. You kind of want to step back. I like the beta tester idea a lot because a lot of us just really can't completely step back from our puzzle. We just kind of look at it and go, this is easy. This is a 1.5. I mean, come on. I mean,
Tunnel vision.
Right. You're just staring at it going, oh my gosh. I mean, it's so simple. I mean, 1.5. Come on. It can't be that hard, Let somebody else take a glance at it. They may go, I have no idea whatsoever. And you're like, come on. It's a Rebus puzzle. It's a Rebus. Figure it out. I mean, cheese dip. I mean, how hard can that be? Right,
apparently 2 days worth hard.
apparently. Oh, that's great.
Oh, man. So, all right. So final thoughts from me. Think outside the box when you're, think about what an average person would go through to rate the difficulty of a puzzle. And I know that's hard because we all have different educational backgrounds and whatnot. But, what would the average cashier, what do you think they would use beta testers if at all possible? Beta testers really are probably the best way to accurately rate a puzzle cache, and then pick a difficulty rating and stick with it. There's nothing worse than a cache owner who changes the ratings of their caches.
Oh, I hate that.
Several. Now, if you're going to do that after the first person or the first two people find it and they say, hey, this probably really ought to be a difficulty this, and you didn't have a beta test team test it for you, all right, maybe after the first one or two. But once you get a half a dozen to a dozen people,
too late.
And if you're up there like 3.5 and above, but below 5.5, yeah, you get in that upper end, people will track you down and do bad things to you.
Well, archive it and put it out again if you have to.
Yeah.
Don't change them. People get home and go, yay, I finished Fizzy finally. Took me forever. They go, hey, what happened? I had that cache. Oh, it got changed. Well, that is bad. We don't think about it as cache owners a lot of times. We just go, it really should have been a 4.5 and not a 4. And you're like, whoa, you can't be tweaking that stuff now. It's too late.
Yeah.
I mean,
go ahead.
If you tweak it after the first finder or maybe the second finder, okay. But once you start getting a half a dozen people who have found it, no, I leave it alone. I may put a note on my cache page that says that, this, but, or I'll change, I may, do something to give them an extra hint or something, but I'm one of those people that doesn't change the cache rating. I changed the DT rating on one of my geocaches in the 11 years that I've been geocaching. One time.
Yeah.
One time.
I don't think I ever have.
First finder found it and emailed me and said, I would have never found this had it not been for this obscure hint.
Right.
On a page that I didn't realize it was a hint until I got there. And he said that probably needs to be a little harder.
Right.
And so I upped it,
Yeah.
And since then I've had 2 DNFs on it.
Yes. There you go. All right. Good deal. Tom, your final thought.
I'd say do your best on coming up with the DT, but once you're done, don't lose sleep over it and ignore the people who are going to yell at you.
Yeah.
And when you're looking for them, I would say ignore it also. I mean, well, you pay a little bit of attention to it, but
Yeah.
Don't let the DT stop you from trying to solve it.
That's true. That's true.
Always make an attempt.
Always make an attempt.
And the beta tester, I like the idea how you did it, where you did it with Facebook, where you didn't use people in your area, you used people all over Timbuktu, so
Yeah.
you don't have the locals saying, "Oh, well, now I can't get a first to find."
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Well, and that's one of the things that I have. Once I had people who had solved some of my more obscure puzzles, I sent them a message first saying, "Hey, I got another puzzle. Are you interested?"
Sure.
So I have reused those people who are not from around where I live,
Right.
on purpose.
Right.
So
It's good. Excellent.
And then they get a good source to copy your puzzle.
yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Yep. Great. Well, thank you guys.
So we're back on in 2 weeks. 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
We will be back on for Puzzle Talk on
I gotta get the calendar.
2 weeks.
hold on. 8th
The 8th of September.
8th and 15th of September.
So
Right.
3 weeks from now.
8th and 15th. No, that's two. 3 weeks. Yeah. Next
25th,
week-
the first, and then the 8th would be the
Yeah.
third.
25th, Tuesday the 25th of next week, and the 1st are Gadget Talk. So cool. Well, thanks. Oh, there you go. Whoa. There's something you could. What is that? You could. Somebody could. We can't say it on air, but if you watch the show, you can possibly get you a trackable. Interesting. All right.
Okay.
Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Say goodnight, everybody. What was that? Say goodnight, Gracie. Good night, Gracie.
Hey, Gracie.
Hi, Gracie.
That's
And
all.
in 3 weeks, it's going to be an awesome show.
Oh, I got two. You got two lined up. Then it'll be perfect.
We got back-to-back shows lined up next month. So
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Get your popcorn ready.
That's right.